Hello, hello, hello. It's Glam Life Kingdom. And of course, it is time for Minneapolis 360 with one of my favoriteest people in the Twin Cities. What's up, Anthony?
Hey, what's going on, sis? One of my favorite peoples in life.
Hey, that's
like
what
in
I'm
life.
talking about,
You know
in
what I'm
life.
saying? We got to start talking about this globally.
Yes,
you know
it
what I'm
is a
saying?
global. We are global.
We're global, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm doing well. It's
In
a
the
beautiful
universe.
day. Yeah, you feel it like it's in the air.
It is. It's beautiful outside. Yesterday was perfect, though. Oh, my God.
It was a good day. Like Minneapolis, y'all know that we like our local, like forget Fox 9. You come to us with the weather.
Mhm.
Like we got you, right? We're going to tell you what to wear. We're going to tell you where to go.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And today it's going to be nicer like this weekend. I can't wait to be outside. I was talking with Glenn earlier. I just can't wait to, be out and put my shorts on, my T-shirt,
Oh, my
man,
God.
put my ones on and just, hit the streets. So
Yes, I'm so ready for it.
Me too. Me too.
It's about that time.
It is about that time. So, and I know you're going to be flossing and flexing.
Oh, man,
so.
I can't wait for the summer.
Yeah.
Y'all going to have to be like, Kim, what you doing, girl?
They're going to say you're doing too much.
This is the summer to do it. I feel it.
That.
I feel it in my bones.
I heard that. Me too. And especially when they start with the kickoff with the cruise, really, for the summertime.
Yeah.
So.
That's going to be so much fun. Look, you guys, don't wait till the last minute. Get your tickets now.
That's the truth.
Anthony, are you going to be in the building?
Yeah, you know what? We're going to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
You're going to talk about
it's
that.
Always something.
It's always something. Minneapolis, y'all know me. Y'all know Glam Life Kim. Welcome to Minneapolis 360. I am your host, Anthony Taylor with the city of Minneapolis. Always my pleasure to come every second and fourth Wednesday of the month to provide information on how you can activate in your community, how you can find resources, how you can just really protect and support each other. And one of the things I think, as I've been doing this show for probably going on 7 years, is always like awareness to me. Minneapolis is important, right? So awareness on everything, right?
Yes.
From jobs, for resources, right? For what's going on, community events, and a lot of the fun topics, like Kim, like there's a lot of fun stuff that we can do, how to activate. And I know we talk a lot about recently here with stuff that's going on at the People's Way and New Nicollet and all those type of projects that are a lot in the cities, right? And some of that stuff is fun because you can activate, you can go see, you can hang out. But there's also some topics too that are kind of serious topics, right?
Yep.
That we need to bring awareness to that also, right?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of stuff isn't out there publicly, right? You can see it. Some stuff is really undercover.
Yeah.
Right? That's important.
Right.
That affects our community. And y'all, Minneapolis, today I want to talk about two really important things that I want to bring awareness to. One of them is sex trafficking in our community and also opioid awareness. And I've got two people to come on, Kim. And right, when you say that reaction, I bet you there's people out there who thinking the same thing, right?
Yeah, and we're thinking, you see it on TV and you're thinking, oh, that's in that city or that's happening, but you don't think about it happening right around you.
Absolutely. Or if we talk about even just like opioid abuse and sometimes some of the signs that we may see, but don't really want to activate on that because it's a hard topic, right?
Right, it is.
So we're going to get into it, y'all. We're going to talk about sex trafficking first. I'm going to bring on a really, really, really good person I've known in the city for quite a while, Shunu, who is the senior advisor for human trafficking prevention in the city of Minneapolis, who's doing great work in the community. First time on KMOJ. Shunu, welcome to Minneapolis 360. How you doing today?
Welcome, Shunu.
Yeah, thank you. I'm good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, so tell us a bit about what you do, Shunu, for the city.
Yeah, as you indicated, Anthony, I'm the city's senior advisor. What that means is that my main job duty in the city is to implement the blueprint on human trafficking and exploitation, which we produced in active partnership with internal and external stakeholders some years ago. So in that, I work across the enterprise to provide support to different initiatives that intersect with human trafficking and exploitation.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're on this show, Shunu. I just see the work that you do in community, especially here in the city, to make us aware. There's a couple things I want to kind of drive us to, right? So really, I want to talk to you about what is the city of Minneapolis doing to kind of raise awareness. But before that, can you just kind of give us a small kind of definition of what does sex trafficking mean, right? Like what does that entail?
So human trafficking is not only a public safety issue, it's also a public health issue. It's human rights issue, and it's human services issue. And in Minnesota, we often interchangeably use human trafficking to mean sex trafficking, but human trafficking is rather a broader category and umbrella term that includes sex trafficking and labor trafficking. And labor trafficking is often not so much talked about, especially here in Minnesota, because we've also focused our efforts throughout the state on sexual exploitation and sex trafficking. But in the city of Minneapolis, in the last 7 years, we've done a really good job of bringing awareness on the overlapping issue of sex trafficking and labor trafficking. Both combined is human trafficking. For your listeners, sex trafficking, especially in Minnesota, is defined as someone, a person, who is sold for sexual services by another person who's not a victim or the buyer. So that means that in Minnesota, if somebody is pimping a person out, that constitutes sex trafficking, because the person, the trafficker, quote unquote, the pimp, is profiting off of selling the other person for sexual services. So that is the basic definition of sex trafficking in Minnesota, which is actually very broad from how federally the federal law defines sex trafficking, in which a person, the victim, has to prove that there was an element of force, fraud, and coercion employed for that person to be defined as a victim. As opposed to that, in Minnesota, the element of force, fraud, and coercion are irrelevant as long as the person can prove that there is someone else who is profiting off of this sale. They are seen that constitutes sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, William Baker, they're over at Lucy Laney, and they're tuned in, and they said that this is a very important topic and that they appreciate us for talking about this today. And Miss Passion and Miss Robinson and Mr. or Matt, his supervisor over there, they're all tuned in. And so shout out to you guys. Thank you guys.
Yeah, big shout out to you, Baker, and thank you, like you said, for checking in. And Shunu, I'm so glad, right, that you are here, because obviously you touching on a topic that I think is important to community. And one of the things I wanted you to kind of define that is because, like, a lot of times in community, we use different terms to describe the same thing, right? So when you say, you know, sex trafficking, I just wanted to make sure we kind of brought it down to kind of layman's terms, because people, it's different language, you know, pimping, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different ways, but it's all the same. And one of the things I think is important about the campaign and what Minneapolis is doing is that, like, there's a website for resources. Just like talk a little bit more about exactly what the city of Minneapolis is doing around this campaign and describe the campaign, Shunu.
Yes.
So Minneapolis, in the city of Minneapolis, the two departments, the department currently I'm housed in Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Department, and Minneapolis Public Health Department partner to develop this sex trafficking thrives in science awareness campaign to shed lights on the overlapping issue of substance use disorder and sex trafficking. There's a lot of stigma around people who have substance use disorders, who are using drugs to cope with many different traumatic incidents that have happened in their lives, including exploitation and sex trafficking. There's a lot of fear and stigma associated with these issues that even victim survivors, they do not feel compelled, they do not feel encouraged, they do not feel that they deserve a second chance in seeking services to be on the healing recovery journey, the recovery journey towards healing, and whatever that means for people, because it could mean different to different people. So with this particular campaign, which was actually developed in very active partnerships with subject matter experts, those with lived experience, both with these compounding challenges of substance use disorder and sex trafficking. This campaign it's an outcome, a product, a labor of love from these individuals who engaged in this process to provide their input, their expertise in creating these beautiful images that you see on billboards, in different restrooms, on metro stations throughout the city of Minneapolis. And again, the goal was to shed light on these intersecting issues, and while hoping that victim survivors feel that there are resources out in the community that they can choose to receive whenever they are ready, right? Because again, I think that agency is so important. That control, that choice, that agency have been taken away from them by exploiters and traffickers, which is why we do not want to impose services on victim survivors, but rather we offer these services so whenever they are ready, they know that it's out there for them if they so choose to seek help.
Talking with Shunu, Senior Advisor for Human Trafficking Prevention with the City of Minneapolis. We are talking sex trafficking conversation today. We've got a lot of folks, I think, interested in that. And one of the things, Shunu, that I really want to talk about as we kind of tick up against the clock, one of them, the campaign is Sex Trafficking Thrives in Silence. I know REIB, Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, launched that program in January. It's part of raising awareness. I love the fact that you talked about just the posters on bus shelters and light rails and everything across the city. One of the key things I really want you to kind of highlight is like, what are the signs, right? What can we look for? And I think a lot of times if people aren't aware of what the kind of the signs to look at, tell us, like, what are some things that, like, this doesn't even seem right, that this could be a situation where I need to call 911.
Yeah, so we certainly don't encourage people to intervene in really alarming, dangerous situations, and encourage them to call 911 if they see someone is in immediate danger, right? But Anthony, as we're talking about some of the signs, there are many different signs, but a few that I would like your listeners to be aware of, especially in young people, is missing school regularly without reasonable excuses or reasons. Young people having a lot of expensive things that are beyond their reach. Young people wearing clothes that are weather inappropriate. For example, if it's minus 20 degrees outside, but they're wearing clothes that are that people wear usually in the summer, right?
Too sexual.
Yep. Telling inconsistent stories. If you're asking the person something and there's someone else answering questions for these young people, that's a clear sign that they are not in control of their own stories, that someone is providing them either the answers or that someone is in control of what they say or not say. Dating someone much older, young people dating who are really, really old people, putting up sexually inappropriate pictures on social media. These are some of the signs that all of us should be aware of and be alarmed. But then again, there are many others. Whenever we are talking vulnerabilities, many people who are homeless, many people who are, again, have substance use disorders, mental health challenges, other unemployment, obviously, and people from communities of color and people who identify themselves as belonging to LGBTQIA plus communities are highly at risk of exploitation and trafficking. So we really want people to be looking at this issue from that intersectional lens. So we are better prepared to coordinate our response, whatever that response be, whether that be community response, whether that be law enforcement response, or whether that be public health and human services response.
Yeah, appreciate that, Shunu. In about 30 seconds or less, can you just give out some resources that are available to our victims?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the lines that I really want all of us to be aware of is the Day One hotline. It's the 24/7 crisis hotline in the state of Minnesota. The number is 1-800 799-7233. And there are several other programs in the community. One out of the Family Partnerships Pride program, the Link in North Minneapolis, Cornerstone. And again, if people want to report something, there is the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Anonymous Tips line, which is 1-877-996-6222. And if people didn't get a chance to jot all of these down, they can certainly go to our website, which is minneapolis.mn.gov/human-trafficking-resources. So all of this information is available on our website, but then people can also learn more about what trafficking is and what different resources are available out in the community for them to share, or if they are a victim survivor, if they so to choose to seek help.
Yeah, thank you, Shunu. I mean, this is really important. You got obviously people, big show over there at Lucy Laney, he said.
Yeah, at Lucy Laney.
Listening to that. And I think those signs are important because young people, man, they can sniff stuff out better than old people can. Like, you know what I mean? When they see signs and tips and stuff like that don't look right. Right. And they're more able to activate quicker too, right?
Yep,
so
we need you guys to speak up.
Absolutely.
Let's give them that website one more time in case you guys didn't get those numbers. It's Minneapolis, all the way spelled out, MINNEAPOLISMN.gov/human-trafficking-resources. And feel free to call up to the station and we can give you that information as well.
And 311 is our friend.
311 is always our friend. When in doubt?
Yep, 311, right? Thank you, Shunu. Appreciate you for coming on today. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much for the time. Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
You too.
Absolutely. And listen, now Kim, like it's youth opioid, awareness prevention coming on today. Tony, you there? How you doing, bro?
Good, I'm here. Absolutely.
Good, man. We're talking to Tony from Public Health Specialist for the city of Minneapolis. I've seen you like at least in my mind like 5 times today, and this all before like noon, Tony. So let's dig into it, man. Like, what have you been doing for the city?
Well, yes, I'm a public health specialist. I don't even really know what that means. But I've been with the city for about a year and a half. I'm somebody that's in recovery from substance use disorder. And so, and for me, it's kind of where my passion is like now turning around and helping people that are going through this too.
Yeah, and really appreciate you coming on. This is the topic, just like with sex trafficking, and actually all topics that come on this show, because it provides people a chance to give some information. And we're talking about youth opioid awareness. So like, talk about the work that the city is doing to kind of raise awareness about this opioid epidemic with you.
Sure. One of the biggest things we did just right at the end of last year is we did a huge kind of youth prevention campaign where we took a bunch of money that we were given from the opioid settlement funds and put out a campaign to really let youth know about, bus shelters, same thing as with Shunu, a lot of social media advertisements, stuff that we're, meet them where they're at and just let them know, empowering them to know more about opioids and what to do when you see a friend, that's in, that might be in crisis, how you can help as a youth. And so, we've got kind of kits for schools and educators that they can use to kind of, reach out to people and just kind of how to talk to your friends about drugs. If you're struggling or you think one of your friends is struggling, it's okay to reach out, and how to help save a life if you're put in that position.
Yeah, and this is a problem in our community, Tony. And I'd love for you just to talk about just some of the numbers and the reasons why Minneapolis is doing this campaign now.
Well, I think I don't have the exact current numbers for the city right now with me, and nationwide you might be hearing opioids is going down, opioid deaths are going down, but I don't know that that's necessarily true in the city of Minneapolis and or Hennepin County. They seem to be kind of plateaued. But in 2023, we had 110,000 people nationwide die of drug overdoses. And one thing that's important, and so Minnesota, I don't know the numbers, but it's going down nationwide, which is a wonderful thing. But one thing a lot of people don't realize, it's not just he's a crack user, or he's smoking fentanyl at the bus shelter. Right? That's not the only way people get this stuff. It's sometimes they're getting a pill from, hey, I got a Xanax from my buddy. If your back hurts, well, that pill, 70% chance that pill that you get off the street is counterfeit, and that pill contains fentanyl, probably 10 out of 10 times, right, or 7 out of 10 times. And if you're not a hardcore user, and there's just a teeny tiny amount of fentanyl is enough to kill a person. Like the tip of a pencil will kill you. And so it's finding ways to prevent that, obviously, but then also if somebody is overdosing, what do you do? It isn't okay to call the police. Well, what if we're sitting here using together and I don't want to call the cops, even my buddy's overdosing? Well, if somebody's got narcotics on them, letting them know that it's okay to still call the police and you won't get in trouble because you're a good Samaritan under Steve's law, and letting people know that kind of stuff. Like, don't be afraid, because everything is about saving a life. And so a lot of that is, Narcan or naloxone education, getting it out to anyone that needs it and letting them know that it's safe and legal to carry. A lot of people don't even understand that. And, especially, the north side, south as well. Like, you see people at bus shelters all the time. What do you do when you get involved? And just knowing what your power is with naloxone, how to save a life is a big thing we want the youth to know.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. I mean, this is a problem. I mean, we may see numbers going down, nationwide. I think we here in the city of Minneapolis see a problem, right? This increase, especially in our community. Exactly, Kim. You know where I'm going, in our Black and brown communities, right? Our Native American brothers and sisters.
Yeah, and it's like a 92% increase for the Hispanics.
Horrible.
And 30% for Blacks. So it's still huge.
It's still huge, Tony. And I want to just real quick, because we got about 7 minutes, so I want to make sure that you get the time in to talk about that, because you mentioned a couple of things I think is really important, and I would love to have you just talk, a lot more about what is the city doing to prevent opioid use in our community. And you talked about something, and I know you'll touch on it, but this Narcan vending machine to me is revolutionary. So just talk about some of the ways that the city has done to kind of prevent this.
Sure. Well, I'd say a lot of what we do and what I do daily is, we work with a lot of community organizations. On the north side, we work with A Mother's Love to help, we pay them to go out and pick up syringes that you call into 311, and, Turning Point, and there's just tons of them all over the cities, GMCC and Clues that work with our Hispanic population and a lot of East African groups. And so we fund a lot of different groups that are out doing the street work, that day-to-day, the stuff that needs to get done. And so, whereas I don't do direct care necessarily, but you mentioned the vending machine. So over south on 38th and Fire Station 21, we've got a vending machine, and it's a Narcan naloxone vending machine. It's absolutely free. There's zero barriers. You don't got to go inside and talk to anyone, ask about it, have them ask you questions about why you want it. You could walk up to a machine. It's outside, temperature controlled, whatever. It's just like one of them candy machines. Go up, press the number 41, boom, a box of Narcan will drop. A box of that at Walgreens is $30 to $50. If you don't have a prescription. Well, this is just free. No questions asked, no nothing. Now, so that was our first one.
Can you let the listening audience know what Narcan is or how it helps?
Yes, I can. First, I do have to tell you this before I tell you that. No one knows it yet except for your listeners, but Northside is going to see a naloxone vending machine very soon. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you where.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Talking in the next month.
Thank you for that exclusive.
Breaking news.
Yeah,
we heard it first.
What naloxone does is it reverses an opioid overdose. So opioids being fentanyl, morphine, Valium, heroin, that kind of stuff. Now, so what that does, and it does not reverse, like on cocaine or crack or any of that stuff, it would not reverse. But but what it does is it goes in. It's a nasal spray. There's also injectables, but what we give out is a nasal spray. It looks like Flonase, just a little squirt in your nose, and that's within 2 minutes. You're going to see people essentially they can start coming back to life. You know, and then there's other steps you should take, like getting EMTs there, because there are steps that also have to happen after that. But the biggest thing is what it does is it takes the drugs off of the parts of your brain that want it. You know, they're dopamine, the receptors, and it frees your brain back up and then returns breathing. Because the first thing in an opioid overdose is breathing starts going real faint. They start slowing down breathing, and then they stop breathing. And then, their heart's still going for a minute, but then as they stop breathing, that's when people say their lips start turning blue, or your fingers, or your feet. I've seen it. You can probably picture exactly what it is, and that's that's the end. So with that, you get Narcan in them or naloxone, that little squirt, that within 2 minutes you can start seeing people come back to life. And it's that fast and that crazy. Again, biggest things we still want to stretch. Get EMTs out there because they have other stuff they got to do. Right. But first thing you can do is get Narcan in them because that can save a life. I've done it twice, and it's powerful.
So I know we only have a few more minutes, but I'm just curious. Have we thought about, like, do we feel like people may feel like they can go and take a drug and then get this, already be prepared and take those free Narcans out of the machine and then use them both? Like, are we concerned about that at all?
Well, I'll tell you what, as somebody who used to be in addiction, I'm sure that there are people, I can guarantee you that's happened, right? Okay. I mean, I think, but I don't think it's so much, like I've heard tales of a girl that just gave her own self Narcan once because she didn't realize her lips were turning blue. And I know a girl that was revived 11 times with Narcan. Oh my God! I think though, the idea. There's always, for anything good, there's going to be people abusing, right. But the idea for us, even with the price of the machine and the price of naloxone, like we save one life, right. Where, boom. Yes. That's all we needed to justify it, Right. So it's like, there's, with anything, people are going to find ways to try and, do you wrong, but that's, this isn't, you can't get high off of naloxone. And another important thing too about Narcan, if you've got it and you see somebody you think is overdosing and you get them Narcan and they're not overdosing, it ain't gonna, you and I could have Narcan right now in their nose. It wouldn't affect us at all. Okay. Yeah. So it's safe to give. That's a big important thing. Yeah. Yeah. Those are great questions because I think, as a community member or a person who may be struggling with addiction, your brain is always on another wavelength. Right. Yeah. Right. So you may think of something that may work, may not work, has no way of working or working. So I think it's important that you ask that question, Kim. Like, this is what I want to end with too, Tony, and I would love to bring you back on. I know you've got a personal story, man, that I would love for you to share at a date because there's nothing more, I think, to me, more valuable than a personal story, Absolutely. Right? We've all got them in all type of different situations, but as we push up on the clock, give our listeners just resources that people can access to be able to help themselves or their family members. Mm-hmm. Well, I'd say, of course, I'm going to push you right to our website because we've got kind of a lot of stuff on there, a lot of information, which is just minneapolismn.gov, just like the last one, /youth/opioids/resources. And one thing I want to just stress is, when you see people, they're sitting in the bus shelter, they're passed out, they're bent over, they're face down, whatever. Just remember that's a person there. Absolutely. That's somebody's cousin or brother or mom or sister, but and that's just remember that there's a person in there and they're hurting and they're struggling and they know they're struggling, and so the most important thing is look at those folks with a little bit of compassion. Absolutely. And anything you can do, that's the best way to get going and get started on all this for sure. So, bro, I'm so glad you said that because that's the absolute truth, man. You are 100% right. Show some compassion to your neighbor for folks who are dealing with addiction, because nobody would wish that upon anybody, any type of demon that has them in a situation like that. And just imagine some of the losses that are in their lives that are hard to get over. Right. There's stuff we'll never even imagine. 100%, bro. I would love to have you come back, man. We got to get out of here, Tony.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. We'll talk
Thank
soon.
you,
I'm
Tony.
sure I'll see you around somewhere again, like I did today too,
All
bro.
right.
Are you some today?
Thanks,
Yeah, I saw him
Anthony.
today. All right, man. Thank
awesome.
you.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, y'all.
Kim, I'm so glad he said that. I know that we got to get out of here, but that's true. You know, I think about it as a person when I was younger and I would see that. I didn't really understand that, and I probably made fun of a person or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But as you get older, your life and your lens changes, right?
Absolutely.
And this is somebody's brother, sister, mother, cousin, all of that.
It could be you.
It could be.
So definitely. Look, so I know a couple things. We just need to make sure how you guys can get involved. Be present in your community. Have regular conversations with your children so that they know what's happening and that they can, if they're out and they see it happening, that they can try to get help. And then, as he said, just have compassion, right?
Absolutely. Talk to somebody. So,
Talk to somebody.
Yeah. So, man, good to see you. Always a fun time. I know Q-Bear waiting to jump in. He's going to be like, Aunt, you taking up too much. Taking up my space, bro. But always a pleasure to see you, sis. I can't wait till next time we get on air.
I know. 2 more weeks, y'all. 2 more weeks. Shout out one more time to William Baker, Miss Passion, Miss Robinson, and Matt over there at Lucy Laney. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. And thank you, all of you who are listening right now. It's Minneapolis 360 and 89.9 KMOJ, the People Station.